This is the treatment. Before beginning, I think some remarks would be appropriate. What you are going to learn is in fact a sport. You are moving small muscles rather than large ones, but the rules relating to the learning of any sport most absolutely apply here. Please don't think of this as a therapy that you are learning. If you do, you will make some mistakes. Think of it instead as a sport that is going to become your new hobby. You're going to take pride in how well, how consistently, how smoothly, and most importantly, how undetectably you play this sport. And as a byproduct of playing this sport, you will not stutter. The sport, as you will discover, has two components: an unpreformed airflow, which we'll explain in great detail later, and a slowed first word. Before proceeding, however, please take the time to read the manual and look at the workbook. We begin with the slowed first word. More specifically, we start with monosyllables, and we're going to learn some rules here. The first rule is, when a phrase or sentence begins with a one-syllable word, you are to place a mental comma, a pause, between that word and the rest of the sentence. The comma causes your brain to think the first word has been spoken by itself, and when the brain thinks that, it automatically slows the first word. You don't have to slow the first word. All you have to do is put the comma in, and your brain will do it automatically. Here's the second rule. You ought to say the first word as if it were the only word you were going to say, with the rest of the sentence, that is, the part that comes after the comma, spoken as an afterthought. Here's an example of what it might sound like. I see the window. The window is open. Can you tell me the time? How old are you? What is your name? I like my new house. Rule number 3. There shall be no influence of the second word on the ending of the first word. The comma is a real wall separating the first word from the rest of the sentence. Rule 4. The first word shall be the softest word in the sentence, not the loudest. Beginners often tend to make it the loudest, and this is undesirable for many reasons. Rule 5. Never inhale during a comma. It will cause your brain to think you have begun a new sentence. Let's summarize the 5 rules, and I'll simply let you read these on your own now. Actually, if you look at it, the first 3 rules pretty much all relate to the same thing. That first word pretty much stands by itself. By making it stand by itself, it's automatically slowed. Repeat these sentences after me now as I say each one, trying to remember the 5 rules. I see the window. The window is open. Can you tell me the time? How old are you? What is your name? I like my new house. Here are some exercises now for week number 1. Working with a monitor. Now that's a very important concept. If you read the manual, you'll know and fully appreciate the critical role of having someone to monitor you. Monitor can be a friend, a family member, anyone who has an interest in you. The reason we want you to have a monitor is simply because beginners are not good judges of their own performance, and we don't want you to be lulled into a false sense of security. A monitor, therefore, is invaluable. At any rate, working with a monitor, read the monosyllable word starts, list A in the workbook, following the 5 rules. Do this for 30 minutes each day during week 1. Multi-syllable words. Rule number 6. Multi-syllable words are spoken with equal duration on each syllable and at a rate of 108 syllables per minute. Use the metronome set at 108 beats per minute as your fluency enhancing timing guide. Here is what it sounds like. This is 108 beats or 108 syllables per minute. Hear these words now as I speak them at a rate of 108 syllables per minute. Abandon, packing, baseball, define, lagoon, Idaho, Titanic, velvet, dividend. Now you do it. Allow several beats between each word. Remember, 1 beat per syllable. Well, I hope you remembered to generate one syllable per beat. Practice List B in the workbook. Multi-syllable words in isolation. With a monitor, practice 30 minutes a day during the first week. And of course, don't forget to use the metronome. Rule number 7, and notice that I've put it in quotes to indicate that it's not really a rule, but it might function as one, and here it is. Don't expect to be fluent. You only have half a technique. Just focus on your sport and forget about everything else. The second week. Using monosyllable word starts, make up short sentences as you describe pictures from a magazine. Use very short sentences. Change the picture every 3 sentences. Work with a monitor. Practice 30 minutes each day during the second week, and don't forget to put all the commas in. Remember those 5 rules. Here's an example. I see an antique car. It's a convertible. It has wire wheels. Simple, short sentences are the order of the day, only 3 sentences per picture. Read sentences beginning with multi-syllable words from the workbook. That's List C. This is the next exercise. Practice 30 minutes each day with a monitor during week 2. Now, here's the practice for the 3rd and 4th weeks. 1 hour daily, read, slowing all first words. Break long sentences into phrases, slowing the first word of each phrase. All monosyllable word starts must be followed by a comma, and all multisyllable word starts must be metronomed at 108 syllables per minute. Don't be concerned here about trying to remember all of these exercises because they're all listed sequentially in your manual. If you encounter a feared word in mid-sentence, metronome it at 108 syllables per minute, because 95% of the time the feared word that you will encounter will be a multi-syllable word. So, I'll repeat this very important instruction. If you encounter a feared word in mid-sentence, metronome it at 108 syllables per minute. Remember again, you still only have half a technique. Don't expect to be fluent. Just pay attention to consistently slowing your first words. That's half of your sport. And forget about fluency. Practice with a monitor as much as possible because, as I've said before, beginners tend to make mistakes and not know it.